Hey everybody, this is Al. Today we want to talk about how do you get mold out of the air. It's a really great question because mold is hanging out there in the air in your environment. You got it places where you don't want it. You can see it on a surface. I mean, that's really clear. It's there. But it's airborne as well. It's like the dust that's floating around. It's microscopic. You can't really see it in the air. You might be able to smell it with your nose, but you just can't see it. And so how do you get, from a practical matter, the mold out of the air? Well, today we're going to talk about some of the ways that we do that. We're going to begin with one of our favorite pieces of equipment, and I'm going to show you what's happening there. Okay, so we have airborne mold particles. How do we get them out of the air? They're microscopic, they're small, they're floating around. They're making a mess of your breathing environment. They're causing all kinds of havoc with your health. How do you get them out of the air? Well, this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment. It's called a HEPA 500. And HEPA stands for High Efficiency Particle Absorption. And you might have heard of that term used in vacuum cleaners. But what it means is that it's very efficient at getting really small things out of the air. And since mold is measured in microns, we need a special tool to get it out. So let me show you how this works. When this is opened up, this is the intake where air from your room goes into this filter. And when it hits this is a pre-filter. It takes all the big chunks. And I'm going to open this up so you can see what I'm talking about. Let me get these latches off. Okay, so inside we've got these things that we call pre-filters. And we've got a couple of them in here because when we're working inside of a space, there's a lot of junk floating around. So we use these to preserve the inner filter, which is a HEPA filter. And this is a really, really fine piece of equipment. And all the mold particles are captured here. None of them escape. So with this machine, we're able to circulate the air repeatedly throughout the process and capture all the mold spores right in this machine. It's just wonderful, and it really solves a big problem. So we're going to move on to the next piece of equipment, which is kind of cool. All right, this is the other piece of equipment that we use when we're trying to get small particles out of the air. It's a really daunting task. Okay, this is called a Blastmaster ULV fogger. And what it does that's really unique and useful in our business is that it creates micro droplets, very, very small droplets that are able to get into nooks and crannies, get into crawl spaces, get up into rafters, get behind things. And it's really useful for getting an antimicrobial to where we want it so that we can kill the mold. But once we've killed the mold, we've got to get the dead mold spores out of the air because dead mold spores have the same hypoallergenic reaction in people that live mold spores do. So they got to go. They all got to go, folks. So we use this to disperse different kinds of chemistry. And one of the most amazing new developments in the world of mold remediation has been a product called Aerosolver. And I tell you, this is just like when technology goes crazy, it goes in great directions sometimes. And what Aerosolver does is we put it into the Blastmaster. We mix up the proper solution. It goes right into this little area here where we can hold about 1.5 gallons worth of liquid. And then when I turn it on, there's a fan that is housed in here, and it comes out through this tip. And what Aerosolver does is it attaches to microscopic particles that are airborne in the atmosphere. Things like smoke or soot or mold or anything that can be creating an odor or causing a problem for people's breathing zones. And what it does is it attaches to those particles and then they precipitate out of the air. They become heavier than the air and gravity takes them down to a surface where we can clean them. Now, I think that's next to a miracle. So all the particles, the mold especially was what we're trying to get out, is heavier than the air and it drops down to a vertical surface. So we can wipe down countertops, clean the floors, and get the mold really, really out of your space. Now, you might ask yourself, how do you know we're done? How do you know there's no mold left in the air? Well, that's when we go ahead and we take an air sample and we compare it with what's going on outside. And in more cases than I can even shake a stick at, we have found that when we're done, those tests come back remarkably low. So that's it. There you have it. That's how mold gets out of your air. All right, thanks for watching, folks. Take care.